So often we can find ourselves working in our purpose, moving in our purpose, the thing that we know God placed us to do on this earth, we're doing it. We're having the speaking engagements, we're doing the podcast, we have the position at the job, we're pouring into people, we're loving on people. But then, out of nowhere, we find ourselves in a place where we're burnt out, in a place where we don't want to pour out. We don't want to show up for the podcast. We don't want to show up for the job. Or we don't want to show up for the people that God placed in our lives to show up for and to pour into. And we find ourselves in a place where we're like, I don't want to do this no more. What did I get myself into? I don't have the energy. I don't have the capacity to keep pouring out. And as I've been studying the Gospels, I've been in John, Luke, Matthew, Mark, okay, just jumping around. One thing that I've realized about the life of Jesus is that Jesus withdrew. Jesus retreated. And to retreat means to fall back. It means to get back to a place of solitude, right? And Jesus, oftentimes, after he was preaching, after he fed the 5,000, after he was healing, he withdrew with his Father. He got back to his Father. He got back to his source. And as I was reading, and as I've been reading articles and things like that, I realized that not only did Jesus withdraw, but in retreat and pray and get his quiet time, but he wasn't just in a place where he got quiet time by himself, or he was making his disciples feel like, oh, Jesus don't want to be around me. Jesus, I'm too much for Jesus right now. If anything, he empowered them and encouraged them to do the same thing. But it wasn't from a standpoint to make them feel less than, or to make them feel like he's abandoning us, But no, he retreated in a way of, I need to get back to my source. I need to pray. I need to feel back. I need to fill myself back up, because he knew where his help came from. He knew that God was the only way that he was able to do those miracles. God was the only way that he was able to pour out the way that he was pouring out. So he couldn't move on to the next thing and go to the next city without getting back to his Father, right? And I think so many times, as I've been talking to people, and even myself in my personal life, we think that we have the capacity to go, and then once we feel the burnout, once we start to feel the irritation, then we want to go back to God. But in reality, we should live a life where we always retreat and go back to God. We should live a life like Jesus. Once you get done preaching, once you get done teaching, once you get out of that job, and preaching and teaching does not have to be on the stage. It doesn't have to look like, but once you get done putting your kids to sleep, once you get done, wherever it is that you know that you're but this is the thing that God called me to do. Whatever that thing is, after you get done with that, you have to get back into your secret place. We have to get back with our Father, with our source, because he is the only reason why we're even on this assignment. He's the only reason why we're even able to do the things that we do. He's the only reason why we're even able to pour out the way that we pour out. We don't have the strength. We don't have the capacity to just pour out and love on people this type of way. That's why we feel that burnout so fast, right? It's like, God, I prayed for this job. I fasted for this job. I fasted for this opportunity. I prayed for this opportunity. Why do I now feel like I can't, I don't want to do the opportunity? Or why do I now feel like I can't flow in it? And it's because we get so caught up in the go. And honestly, it comes from a place of us thinking, sometimes we live our lives like we're our own God. Like, oh, I can sustain this. I got the energy for this. I got the strength. No, you don't. You don't. We don't. We have to go back to God all the time, And I seen a post today, which is how I knew God was saying, go ahead and get this video out. I seen a post and it said, with Jesus, burnout leads to breakthrough, right? With Jesus, burnout leads to breakthrough. Because how I interpret it, when you are with Jesus and you're already like submitting everything to God and you're already surrendering everything over to God, and you go back to him after you have, like you always, like every night, even during the day, you're always like inviting God and you're always going back to him, you experience, like we're still going to experience burnout because we're human, but it's a different type, when God is in the middle of it. So when you experience that with Jesus, it leads to something better. It leads to a new level. But when you experience it from a standpoint of, I've been doing this on my own, I've been working out of my own strength, out of my own capacity, when you go to burnout, it leads you to, now you haven't posted in 2 months. Now you haven't shown up for the people that you're supposed to be showing up for a few months. Now you're not responding to emails. Now you're off of your game, right? And now you're 10 steps back. You're behind, because it's a different type of burnout when you're doing it from a standpoint of, you're not going to God at the end of the day, right? And as I was reading, Jesus literally, when he started to gain fame, when the crowd started to come, that is when he retreated the most. He didn't go outside like, hey y'all, what's up? I just gained 10,000 followers on Instagram. Let me show up. Yeah, what's up? Let me post 10 videos this week. Let me do this. No, that was when he withdrew the most. So when you're in the middle of that height and you start to gain that very thing that you've been praying for and fasting for, that's when you go back to that prayer closet and back to fasting the most. That day, the day that you like, oh snap, my YouTube videos is blowing up. I just finally got monetized on YouTube. Fast for a day, fast for 2 days, fast for 3 days. So God can prepare you for what you're about to do every day. Like it's a constant thing. We have to live a consecrated life when we're walking in purpose. It's a must. It's not a suggestion. It's a must. You have to live a consecrated life, because if you don't, it's going to lead to constant burnout. And also on the post, it said, are you going to God about these ideas and the things that you're doing for your business or whatever it may be? Or are you listening to the gurus, right? And it said that leads to burnout as well. And it made me think, like, so many times we can find ourselves, the people on social media that give out tips, and they're great. I love them, okay? But we have to also remember that we don't do this when you're walking in purpose and you are surrendered to Christ. We're not doing this for worldly things. We're not doing this for hand claps. We're not doing this for views. We're doing this to save souls, right? So we have to do it the way the Holy Spirit is leading us to do it, because that's the way that God knows it's supposed to be done, right? So the social media guru might tell you, hey, don't post after 10 p.m. because you ain't gonna get no views. But God might tell you, post that video at 10 p.m. And you like, no, I'm not gonna post at 10 p.m. I'm posted at 6 because that's when it's the most hype on social media or whatever, on YouTube, whatever the case may be. And you post that video at 6, now you're walking out of disobedience, because we're not supposed to be doing this for views. You're not doing it for views, It comes with it, it's cool. It's like, okay, yeah. But at the end of the day, we have to understand what the real reason and the real purpose as to why we're doing it. So I found myself looking at all these different social media gurus giving me all these tips, that I stopped listening to Holy Spirit, who is my ultimate guru, okay? Holy Spirit is the guru. Holy Spirit is the one who, not that I don't follow the algorithm, and I did get caught up in this time where I was trying to, and guess what? I found myself burnt out. I found myself burnt out trying to keep up with trends, trying to keep up with these things, because we think that, oh, if I don't keep up with this, they ain't gonna see my video, or if I don't use this sound, if I don't do this, that's tiring. It's chasing something. It's literally chasing something that you're never going to catch because it's a new trend every single day. Okay? So we have to get to the point where we're listening to the voice of God more than we're listening to the voices of other people. Okay? Because not all of us are on social media or even whatever it may be, whatever that thing is. We as Christians, as people that are saving souls, we're doing this for a whole nother reason, you know? So we have to get to the point where we are truly letting God be God so that we don't feel constant burnout. God don't want us to constantly feel like, oh God, I can't do it. God, I can't show up today. He don't want that for us. He wants us to live a life where we have joy in our purpose. We have joy as we're in our calling, you know? So I just encourage you today to get back to God. Retreat. Live a life like Jesus. Read the Gospels. See how he really lived his life. Jesus was ducking off right after he feeding the 5,000, right after he's healing the sick. It's crowds. I was just reading, I think it was in Mark, crowds of people. And Jesus, he in the back, he ducked off, praying to his Father to energize him, to give him the capability, the capacity, because we don't have the capacity out of in our flesh. We don't got it. We don't. So I encourage you to retreat, get back to the Father, and let him lead you. Let him lead you. Put him in the middle of everything that you do so that you don't have to continue to feel this burnout. Because that's not where he wants us. Because if we're constantly feeling burnout and we taking a month off of YouTube, taking a month off of this, taking a month off of that, that's time that we should have been posting to save souls. That's people who are called to you that aren't getting what they're supposed to be getting because we haven't been doing what we're supposed to be doing. We haven't been filling ourselves up spiritually. So now we're not doing what it is that we were called to do. And there's souls that are in the midst of this. It's bigger than us, you know? So retreat and get back to your Father's feet. That's all right. But yeah.